I think I was about 8, and I would have to, here in Australia, we used to have self-service pumps for service stations or fuel stations, gas stations.
Yeah.
And I would go out as an 8-year-old and I would pump fuel for people. I would clean windscreen, check tire pressure, and check oil and things like that. And that's what I was trained to do. I was trained by my mum to make sure I counted back change and sold drinks and things like that. I have my hand in it just to keep my eye on the money, because that's my strategy, that's my brain, that's where I love to be. But the ClearPlan consulting really comes from my ability to come into a business and really objectively look at that business on behalf of the owner, look at where we can make improvements. But ultimately what I do is I work out where they want to go personally. What do they want to achieve personally? What does that look like? And we start painting a picture. And what I do is I help them use their vehicle, which is the greatest vehicle that we can have, a business, to get them where they want to go financially outside. So it's all these small little things that you need to be aware of, because if you're doing your cash flow forecasting and you're thinking, I'm going to have this amount of money, and then it's not there because it's being held, well, you need to now think, well, how am I going to run without that extra money? Because it might seem small, 2.5%, but over hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars on a project, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you're getting every bit of that money in your pocket. And simple things like, when I go through someone's accounting software and I'm looking at their expenses, I'm looking how I can pull back every time at least 10%.
How do you stop somebody from, well, not necessarily stop, but how do you give the lesson to someone who hasn't been in that space before it actually happens?
So obviously we can talk to the challenges we've had that we've helped other people with, and we can show them and talk to them about what's actually happened in our own situations. Mm-hmm. Some people can't learn that way. Some people have to go through the hurt to understand it. And I can't stop that. I can give every platform, every provision, but if that person is hell-bent on needing to go their own way, then I'll happily bid them the very best and say, look, if you don't want help, that's totally fine.
This week on the ThriveWell Journey, we're talking with Sonya Corkery, wife, mom, entrepreneur, and founder of ClearPlan Consulting. Sonya helps business owners cut the chaos, clear up their systems, and finally get clarity on how they run day to day. She's been doing this for over 15 years, from helping her husband's company, Electrotek, grow to now coaching others to do the same. In this episode, we dive into the strategies that free you to focus on growth, family, and building a business that truly fuels your dream. Hey there. Look, my hope is that the ThriveWell Journey meets you exactly where you are and helps you rise into who you're here to be. It's 2025, and this is your year to thrive despite what the world is throwing at us. And our desire is that our conversations inspire you, bring clarity, and give you a reason to breathe deeper. So our ask is that you take a moment to subscribe, download the episode, and follow us on your favorite RSS platform. Your support doesn't just help the show grow, it helps build a space that's rooted in your evolution. And that means everything to me and the TTJ team. Now, if you're ready to go beyond the episodes, come join our private ThriveWell Journey discussion group on Facebook. We're walking through a 22-week series built to anchor each week in intention, purpose, and meaningful connection. I do so look forward to hearing your voice and can't wait to see you in the group. But for right now, let's get into it. Ever feel like your business is thriving on the outside, but internally it's a chaotic mess? What if you could streamline your operations, manage your data more effectively, and align every part of your business with your true purpose? So today I'm excited that we're joined by Sonya Corkery, a business operations expert with over 15 years of experience, from building systems that connect people and data to helping entrepreneurs like you and myself clean up the chaos. So Sonya's here, and she's going to share how to take control of your business and design a life that aligns with your goals. And, she's worked with businesses of all sizes, and she's here to show you how to make your business flow seamlessly. And again, I just want to say Thank you, Sonya, for being here. She is down under in Australia, meeting the guy over here in the South, and so good to have you here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's so great to connect with people everywhere and around the world. And I think that was the good part about COVID, right? Is we really started to connect this way. And it's just being able to broaden our ideas and connections, throughout the world. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there was a space and time, I love to travel, and I was going to come to Australia just to kind of check it out for like a month. It didn't happen. My family was like, you can't go over there. And, oh, it's too far and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, look, I'm going. It hasn't happened yet, but it will happen. So it was good
Oh,
to talk to you.
we would love to have you. It'll be great. It'll be great.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. But so, yeah, you're here. And again, I'm excited that you're here. And I just want to have you share a little bit about who you are, and before we get into the meats of what the message that you can bring. And today, Sonya, who are you beyond your professional success?
Well, I'm a wife and I'm a mother of three beautiful boys. Loving, having teenage kids and all of the challenges that brings.
Oh,
But
yeah.
my story really begins from a very young age, and the reason is because my parents were entrepreneurial. So I grew up within businesses, and my mum was just an absolute star of business. She had multiple ideas, and I was kind of that child that was always brought along for the journey. So
Hmm.
it really started quite early. I think I was about 8, and I would have to, here in Australia, we used to have self-service pumps for service stations or fuel stations, gas stations.
Yeah.
And I would go out as an 8-year-old and I would pump fuel for people. I would clean windscreen, check tire pressure, and check oil and things like that. And that's what I was trained to do. I was trained by my mum to make sure I counted back change and sold drinks and things like that. So from a very young age, I was taught that this is the way. I wasn't really taught to have a job. I was taught
Hmm.
to run a business. And so when I evolved and left my schooling career, I didn't want to be in business because I saw how hard that was, right? And
Yeah.
so I was like, I don't want to do that. That looks really hard. I can't even comprehend. Because she'd had a massive failure in that time, and that really scared me. And what
Mhm.
happened was we were basically left without a home to live in. We had to live underneath one of the businesses that we owned because we couldn't even afford to rent a house.
Mhm.
We had no walls in that area where we were sleeping, and we had to shower outside. And where I was living at the time, it was quite cold in those
Oh,
times.
wow. Oh, wow.
So for me, that shocked me, right? That was
Yeah.
like, don't want this. I never want to be poor like this, where we can't feed ourselves or have a roof over our head. And so when I left home, I was determined. I was absolutely determined to make it my way. And in that time, I didn't envision business at all because I'd just seen what had happened and how it could go so wrong, right?
Hmm.
And from that time, I decided to get into a finance career, which I actually fell into banking because I was great at sales, which was crazy, right?
Yeah.
But in banks, they need salespeople because that's what they're doing is they're selling to you. And that kind of just took off. And over a period of years, I was one of the youngest bank managers that big corporate bank had ever had. And I actually fell into commercial lending and then into financial planning. So I got all these great, amazing skill sets from very early on in my life.
Right.
And that really was the turning point, or set the bar for me moving forward into business, which came
Hmm.
a little bit further down the track. So
Yeah. I would think that when you grew up with that experience, that maybe possibly their fear of failure may have kind of jumped into your psyche. Did that happen for you?
absolutely, yes. It's just shook me to my core about how bad it could be. How
Hmm.
things could be to a point where you can't have a house. You can't even rent somewhere. It's not because there wasn't something available, which is like now people struggle because there's not enough housing. We just couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford to buy food. And so that really scared me as a child to go, what if I have nothing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if I can't have the basics? And so I was clinging to look for all of these sureties. I was trying to be so sure about my decisions to make sure the outcomes were absolutely finite. And
Right.
we just know that life takes where it's going to go. It just takes its own road.
Yes.
And look, they always say, if you want to make God laugh, give him a plan, right?
Right.
You've got a plan. And he'll go, no, that's not happening.
That ain't
This is
it.
happening now, right? And so I feel now that I've really evolved over time as a person and how I look at things. And I'm no longer fearful of the things that I was because of my experiences in, the last couple of decades running a business. Um, and kind of saying, well, no matter what, it's going to work out.
Yeah.
It's going to work out. But I'm not as steadfast in the outcome as I once was, and getting so incredibly stressed when things didn't work out exactly as I had planned.
And that's a powerful lesson too. Not being so steadfast in the result. Like you said, if you want to make God laugh, give him your plan, right? So I gave all that up, right? Like I have a direction on where I want to go, but I know it's never ever going to work out the way that I plan for it to work out. It may work out and it may take turns and curves and bumps and everything, but it does come to some kind of fruition. But it's never to the plan that I create for myself. But
Exactly right.
yeah, but you said you're not stuck in the steadfast result, but you actually began to create who you were and who you are now, um, from you just said finance, right? You were in
Yeah.
finance, and
Yeah.
then you started your own business. What was that transition like?
So what actually happened was had all these great life goals. I wanted to be married and I wanted to have my babies early and all of these, personal goals as well as my career goals. And all of that was ticking along greatly. And I had my second son, and I had been on leave for about 2 weeks. And my husband came home and he said, I've quit my job today. I'm going to go into business for myself. And I
Oh
went,
wow, just like that.
just like that. That is the man he is.
Nice.
He he goes with his gut and he just makes decisions, and everything always seems to fall into place. Where
Yeah.
I'm the opposite of that. I love to
Mhm.
plan. So, as you can imagine, being a new mom, having a toddler, that was a really busy time for me anyway, let alone to take on this decision, because I felt like I needed to control this.
Mhm.
And he was like, it's fine. I have money put away. It's going to be okay. But what he saw was he had, over the time that we'd been together, he was in the armed forces. He'd left that career to become an electrician. And one day he was working in this big business and he just said, look, I can do this better and I can make more money for us. Because what he'd realized was, in business, you get paid first, right? Or the expenses come out and you only get taxed on what's left over. It's not you get paid, you pay your taxes, and then you get whatever's left, right?
Right,
There was
right.
more money, more opportunity, and he wanted more out of life. He didn't want to just be the standard. He was like, I want to be the best we can be. I want to have money for our kids. I want to have things. I want to have experiences. I want to travel. And I was like, I
Mhm.
want that too, but I want to do it in the safety of this little bubble of a job, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so, and it just took off. And so when I went back to work, I was looking after my children, working full time, probably like a ridiculous, like 100 hours a week, being a financial planner, and
That's
then coming home and doing his
crazy.
book work, right?
Mhm.
Helping him run the business. And
Wow.
one day he just said, I need you full time. So I took a $60,000 a year pay cut
Oof.
to go in and work with my husband in the business full time. And it was the best thing I ever did in my life.
That's love, right? And then
That is love.
love
That is love.
and you said it was the best choice you ever made. What
Best choice.
made what was or best choice? What made it the best choice at that moment, or was it something that you kind of had to figure out later?
It was the best choice at that time because what it gave me immediately, what it gave me was time back with my kids.
Mm,
So my kids were really little. They were like maybe the oldest one at that time was probably maybe 2.5, 3 years of age. And my other son was only probably like 6 months old. And I was missing this. My son was the first child at daycare. He was the last child at pickup. They were having to bath him and feed him dinner because he would fall asleep and not get to eat and I wouldn't see him even awake all day. And I was missing everything and paying for the privilege. Like I was working in a job to pay for childcare.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately what I got was that family back that I wanted to be and have and grow. I want my kids to know me, not know their childcare people as their mum figure. I wanted me. So the initial thing I got was family. And the next thing I got was to see the capacity of which we could make money and how that could be done and how we could have more in our pocket than if I was just working a normal job. And yes, it had to be driven. Yes, it had to be planned. Yes. But I had all this experience that I had gained over, decades working in finance. And not many people have that. So I think between the operational aspect of David doing what he did best and me doing what I did best, it was the combination of those two that really gave us the foundations that we needed to kick it off as well as we did in the beginning.
That's beautiful. I think when you talk about family, that's like the best. The fact that you get to spend time with your children, they get to know you and be with you. That makes the journey to where you were that much sweeter. And so, like now you're in the business. What are you doing in the business that's now that gives you the, I guess, the knowledge of entrepreneurship and things like that, as opposed to just working at a job?
So for me, because it was an industry I hadn't worked in before, so construction-based businesses, there was so much that I had to learn in respects to compliance, operations, how to run workflow programs, how to structure a job effectively, do negotiations with suppliers for terms, making the banking products fit in with the supplier terms to get the most out of cash flow. So I kind of had one side of a coin and I was trying to look at what the other side looked like. And so over that time, it was a learn as you go and seek out help and seek out assistance for those who were successful already, right? So I'm not afraid to ask the question or say, what makes you successful and how can I get some of that? Because I need that right now.
Right.
And so I sought people who were better than me to learn from those people, because the great thing about entrepreneurial, groups and people is that they want other people to be successful, because then they have other people that know and understand what they're going through. And it's really hard to have those discussions with family members who don't know what it's like to run a business, or friends. And they go, it's hard, just give it up and get a job.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I don't want to do that. I like
working.
Open. Yeah. So I really reached out to those circles and we became part of other business groups, and it just kind of flourished, and we made all these friends and got to go to these great conferences around the world and just learn so much. And it really just helped us flourish in the business.
That's beautiful. And so how did your personal experiences, like in the different industries that you were in, prepare you for the work that you do now?
I know it's probably a take that people don't always understand, but I came from a corporate business, was very regimented, like extremely compliant. And I've come into an industry that, and I came into an industry that was dodgy as just construction was like everyone's handshake deals, cash under the table, let's do this and let's do that, right? And I was like, nah, not having it. It is not, I can't do it, because I don't have a dishonest bone in my body, and I just could not align myself with those kinds of values. And so I just did not feel comfortable working in or around those kinds of people. And so over time, We really learned who we wanted to work with and who we didn't, because I think that was also a reflection of us and our business, and our outcomes, and just really starting to get the vibe and go, that guy's probably not a good payer. Like, he just doesn't strike me as the most honest human.
Oh, wow.
And I want to get paid, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's why we're here. That's why we're doing
Right.
it. And just in that, I just had learned so much about doing things the right way legally, that I
Hmm.
wanted to make sure that we maintained that. And I'd come from a very male dominated industry, and I'd come into an even more male dominated industry. And I knew that I had to kind of earn my stripes. I had to learn. I couldn't just walk in and expect that I would be given the same respect as everybody else. I really
Yeah.
had to kind of, learn that.
They earn the respect.
Yep.
So, you are now you're the founder of ClearPlan Consulting.
Yep.
What do you do with? Is that you still do that and work with your husband, or is it separate?
No, well, we actually have multiple businesses. So we do property development as well. He has another business doing EV services design. So EV is obviously a massive thing that's taken off around the world. So we
Yeah.
have that, plus the contracting business that's still running. I don't really have much to do with that as much anymore. I have my hand in it just to keep my eye on the money, because that's my strategy, that's my brain, that's where I love to
Yeah.
be. But the clear plan consulting really comes from my ability to come into a business and really objectively look at that business on behalf of the owner, look at where we can make improvements. But ultimately, what I do is I work out where they want to go personally. What do they want to
Hmm.
achieve personally? What does that look like? And we
Hmm.
start painting a picture. And what I do is I help them use their vehicle, which is the greatest vehicle that we can have, a business, to
Hmm.
get them where they want to go financially
Hmm.
outside. So I work with their accountant, their planners, and other specialists to basically say, this is how you can use this to grow this. And it might be, I want to have, family holidays every year. I want to retire early. I would like to be able to branch into a different division of business. Whatever that is, it's my job to strategically plan to get them there
Yeah.
using what they've got.
Now you like just talking to you and just meeting you. You transition your life, and I know it's in the message, but it just seems like seamlessly, right? And and I think that's great, right? So you have the ability to share with people that don't necessarily have the idea of how to transition in their lives or how to make their business seem seamless. So, what are the common the question here I have is what are the common challenges entrepreneurs face when they try to integrate systems into their business? Here on the ThriveWell Journey, we talk a lot about not just surviving, but thriving. And a big part of that for me has been understanding my health on a deeper level. That's why I partnered with Live Good and brought it under my company, Orion's Health. Not just because I believe in the products, but because I've seen what they can do firsthand. I've walked through some hard health chapters in my life, including cancer and a kidney transplant. And I know what it feels like when your body's working against you. That's why we're offering 2 free tools that help me and can help you too. First, go to myfreehealthreport.com/Orion's Health. Take our quick health questionnaire and get a personalized report created by Dr. Ryan Goodkin, Live Good's Director of Product Development. It's clear, actionable, and totally free. Second, visit myfreedetox.com and get a free chlorophyll and zeolite detox bottle with your first product order. It's a gentle, natural way to clear out toxins and start fresh, something I personally use and stand behind. This isn't just a sponsorship, it's part of my mission through Orion's Health to help people thrive in body, mind, and spirit. Of course, always consult your physician before starting any new supplement or health regimen. Your body is unique, and your healthcare provider should always be part of the conversation. The links are in the show notes. Now tap in and take your next step toward thriving.
So the biggest challenge always is, everything is in the entrepreneur's mind. And a lot of times, largely, they might have, say, under 10 employees in their business, but they are wearing several hats.
Mhm.
Everything is up here built into their brain. And what we have a challenge with is actually getting them to stop. We need to extract the information from them and be able to put that down into a system of procedure so that that can be delivered on a platform where everyone can get access. So it could just be a step-by-step on how to set up jobs within their workflow program. It could be how they operationally run a job and the way they want to run it. So it's run in a sequential way that they need to get the outcome that they want. Because a team member will come in and do it their way. But if you as the business owner need it specifically done in a way for compliance or legal reasons, or just to make sure that the outcome is exactly as you would like for the client so that the finishes are correct, that needs to be documented, but also explained as to why it's done that way. And so the issue we have is getting them to stop for those moments so we can extract the information.
Yeah.
We only have to really do it once and put it on a video, and then we break it down into steps and other ways to build a system. But it's because they're just everywhere and being called on all the time. And that's why most of them get burnt out, because they just can't stop, right?
Yeah.
They're like, if I stop, I'll fall over and it'll all happen. Well, if you don't stop and do this, it'll be like this forever. What is your pain point? Do you want to keep going forever? Or do you want to be able to take a week off and go to Hawaii? Like, what is it? Where's your pain point, right?
Right.
So it's like that is my biggest one. And then just talking about cash flow and getting them to understand about putting money aside for liabilities. You know?
Can you talk to, I didn't want to interrupt, so
Hey, no, go right ahead.
It was good stuff. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so you talked about pain point and structuring your business. Let's talk to the beginning entrepreneurs that don't necessarily know how to pay themselves or set money aside. What do you say about that?
That I love this, because this is so great. This can be done when you're foundationally setting up a startup. It can be done through scale stage, any stage in your business when you're finding that cash flow is a challenge for you. And so some people are better at this than others, but where the basics really start from is in a great book called Profit First from Mike Molowitz. Now, where he writes, and it's obviously written for the US market, but we can adapt it to any country in the world, just tweaking it a little bit. But basically, every major liability has a bank account. Now, in Australia, we get a transactional account, and you can have several savings accounts attached to that are free. And they might earn interest along the way. You can label them on your banking, but essentially what that is every major liability is allocated. And every week or via every payment that you receive in, you need to allocate a portion to those liabilities. It could be in Australia, we have company tax. Then we have something called GST, which is a percentage, like you guys have sales tax on each of your items. We have what we call GST, and that's a fixed percentage. And so when we're getting that invoice in, we automatically need to allocate, a percentage of that invoice to there. We make sure that, you guys have 401k accounts for people to put money aside for retirement. We have what's called superannuation. We have to hold on to that money for our employees legally, and it's not our money. We need to provision and put that away. Payroll taxes. So what we do is we set those accounts out. I label them. I look at their industry and I look at what percentage profit they should be making on an average. And we start them small with small increments to ease them into it. And then over time, we get them to the percentages that they need to have there. But the best part is there's an account called profit, and we set that margin and we make sure that they get paid that first. So that we are growing into a mindset where the profit is always front of mind. It's not, I'm getting paid last, because so many business owners will pay everyone else in their business, but not take a real wage or not provision anything in a war chest or somewhere safe as a fallback if anything were to happen. No emergency type fund. We talk a lot about, what's that gentleman's name in America? What's his, Dave Ramsey. And he talks about provisioning, right, and paying off everything. Now, I agree to some extent, and then others, I'm open to using things for cash flow like cards or terms on a trade account. But that there, right there, the Profit First, that is a great book. And that, to me, is the absolute foundations for running any major business.
I'm going to get that. First of all, thank you for that. That's
You're welcome.
it's
Do you want
very great
do you want
insight.
do you want another suggestion on a great book for investments?
Yes, please.
There's a book called Girls That Invest. It was actually written by a lady who's based in New Zealand. I'm just trying to remember the name of it now. But that there is a very good book, irrespective of your gender. It says Girls That Invest, but basically the explanations about investing and starting very basic, it is just very well written. And so I find that I pass on all these books to other people just because they're so great,
Hmm.
to give you some knowledge, because it's really about getting the knowledge and understanding and knowing where to go to get that, right?
Yeah. This is Girls in Invest.
Girls That Invest, and it's
Girls That Invest.
yes, and it's a pink
Got
and
that.
purple, yeah.
All right. Profit First, Girls That Invest. Check that book out. Is it on audiobook just for people who don't
Yes.
like to read?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And but the great thing, but with the Girls That Invest, it has a lot of um, what are they, like, examples there where they've actually taken real people and what their own personal investment structures are. So you might not get that when you're actually, on Audible. You won't get to see the significance of that. But you know,
Get the
whatever works
book.
for you. My husband won't. He will not read a book. Like, he only does Audible, right? And it's because he's in the car 90% of the time. So that's what he does.
It's easy. Well, if we don't have a lot of time in the day, I think it's okay to do the Audible because it you can listen to it while you're doing something and you still bring in the knowledge and let it ruminate and all that good stuff. But there's nothing better than a written book that's written well. I believe
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So, as going back to the paying yourself, is there a percentage that you work off of, or is it like a set percentage, or does it differ in that profit area?
So every industry is slightly different, and so because in electrical contracting for us, that's was our business. There's a large percentage that goes towards material expenditure. So it means that the profit is a little bit less. But if you had, say, a service based business like I do with consulting, the margin is more because there's no real material expenditure there.
Right.
And the overheads and expenses, I can work from anywhere. I go out to people's businesses. The biggest expense I have is if I have to travel interstate or internationally to service people's business, and obviously that's a cost, but usually the client will pay as part of that. So for electrical contracting, if we could get a year where it's like 15%, that would be amazing, right?
Hmm.
In Australia, when you're in construction, in the bigger contracts, the builder may actually hold 5% of the total amount of your contract until the end of the project, and you get at the end 2.5%, and then 12 months later you get the other 2.5%, right? So
Hmm.
you're not even getting all your profit up front at the end of
Right.
the project. They hold that because that's for your warranty period. Okay. And so it's all these small little things that you need to be aware of, because if you're doing your cash flow forecasting and you're thinking, I'm going to have this amount of money, and then it's not there because it's being held, well, you need to now think, well, how am I going to run without that extra money? Because that, it might seem small, 2.5%, but over hundreds of thousands of dollars or
Hmm.
millions of dollars on a project, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you're getting every bit of that money in your pocket. And simple things like, when I go through someone's accounting software and I'm looking at their expenses, I'm looking how I can pull back every time at least 10%. So if there's subscriptions that they're paying for that they're not using, or, just anything that's an expense that is rubbish, just not called for, or just wasted, I'm pulling that back because I'm trying to pull back 10%, and then I'm trying to advance you forward another 10.
Hmm.
So if
Hmm.
I can get you to a point where I think if you're not charging correctly, and we can put your markup further up, and I can save your expenses straight away, I've made you money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And teaching people how to do that for themselves so they can do it every year and not have to get me in is part of my skill set and my niche.
I don't know. Some people may think that this is something that they don't need because they don't necessarily see the issue. Um, what do you say to those people that that think that way. They're like, oh, I could figure this out on my own, and think that they have the answer, but it's still kind of crazy. What do you say to that mindset?
It's so funny that you say that, because when I was financial planning, there were people that would come in and sit down and say, but I could learn this off the internet. Why do I need you? And my question would be,
Right.
it's true, right? Like, if you can read, you can learn. So
Hmm.
it's not to say the information isn't accessible. Anybody can get this information. But my question always is, you're sitting in the chair across from me. Have you done it?
Hmm.
If we are here in another week or in another month and we're having the same conversation, what you have lost is time you will never get back.
Get back. Yeah.
And so, what I'm giving you for the cost of my time is a skill set right now that it's taken me decades to learn. I'm going to give it to you all in one hit.
Hmm.
And you can choose to learn it along with me as I do it for you, or you can just pay me to get it done, right? Either way, what's your time worth? Is your
Yeah.
time better invested learning the skill set, or is it better paying a specialist and going on with what you need to do with your time? And so that's where we really talk about what your time is worth. I know that my rate, like, people might say, oh my gosh, $500 an hour is a lot of money. Okay, it might be in the scheme of things, but what you're getting is decades worth of knowledge that I can actually help you make possibly hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars,
Hmm.
and more profit and more money in your pocket. And so when they're sitting across from me, that's the question. It's like, okay, well, why haven't you done it then?
Right. That's what it comes back down to. Why haven't you done it then? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, just acknowledge that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. And it's like, I don't want to be a bookkeeper, so I don't want to go learn that skill set. I pay someone. I don't want to be an accountant. I love my accountant, and I probably harass him every week because we talk strategy high level,
Yeah.
but I pay him because I don't want to go and do that. And
Hmm.
so I wouldn't go and learn to be a plumber. I wouldn't go learn to be an electrician or um, a doctor, because I pay for the specialist and I know what their time's worth. And I'm happy to do that because it allows me the time and space to do what I need to do, which is be with my family and be with my kids. When I'm not
Yeah.
doing this, which I love doing for businesses and business owners, I want to be with my kids and
Yeah.
create memories.
Nice. I love that. And just kind of going, I don't know if making this connect, but there's a lot of people, business entrepreneurs that, they kind of live in the chaos of a new business, or even if it's still going, but they live in the chaos of it. And they may be in it and it's like, oh, it's fine. This is kind of how I live. Um, what do you say to those people that, they have the chaotic life or the chaotic business that may just be just afloat, um, but there's potential in there. What do you say to that mindset?
If they're open to learning and open to change, we can give them so much more of their time back.
Hmm.
Um, I actually experienced this with my husband. Their team many years ago used to call him Cyclone Dave. It'd probably be like Hurricane Dave, I guess, in terminology for the US.
Yeah.
He would come in, he would mess things up, and he would leave, right? He would just come in where there were no problems and he would create chaos, because when he actually had given over control to all these other people in the business and it was growing, for a period he wasn't needed. It's like he didn't have anything to do. He was like, I legit do not know what I am doing with my day. I'm not needed. I have somebody for every role. And so he was looking for things to fix, to save. And so he would create these things, not even consciously, it would just happen.
Mm.
And I would just say, like, you're not needed there. Go and put your time somewhere else. And that's how we ended up with other businesses doing other things,
Oh,
because he wasn't
wow.
really needed right in there.
Yeah.
And so I would say, my question would be, is it a conscious thing that you're having all of these chaotic stresses? Is it actually something that you've created unbeknownst to you that you don't realize that we could fix? And if I fix it, are you going to go and create another thing? Is it
Mm.
because you've grown your business to a size where you may not be needed? Do you need to shift your focus and potentially look at the strategy of what the business can give you and start working on your own wealth creation outside the business and knowing and understanding that? Is that better time spent for you? If it's not, in that example, if it legitimately is just chaotic and everything's everywhere, we can absolutely help people get their time back if they're willing to take the time to implement some small changes over a period of weeks or months.
Do you find people, I don't know if I would say self-sabotage, but like you said, kind of self-create that issue
Yeah,
because they don't want to, relinquish the power, control, all that good stuff, and they're okay in the whirlwind of
absolutely.
chaos?
Absolutely. And there's some deep psychological rooted things, like there might be money stories from growing up and
Mm,
reasons why they feel they can't do things a certain way. It could be from previous traumas that have happened in a job, or it could be because of nearly losing the business previously because a job didn't go well. And so therefore they will not change how they do things in this regard because they're just so scared of losing it. And like you were saying earlier, being driven by a fear mindset as opposed to an abundance mindset, right?
yeah.
And so there are some things that people just need to kind of question, where does that come from? Where does that feeling come from? Deep down, and objectively look at it and go, there was that time that this happened and I struggled. And so I thought, I'm never going to allow that to happen again. And so I'm just not negotiable on these things. And
Mm,
so sometimes it's a real work through. We got to talk about it and say,
yeah.
okay, well, what if we looked at doing it this way and you still felt comfortable, but we could make these small changes? How would you feel about that? And when I
Yeah.
can show you that works, then would you be open to maybe changing a little bit more? Because I can show you how that may help you as well. And we would never put you in a position where it would all fall over, right? I'm going to give you backups for backups
Mm.
because I don't want that to happen for you.
Like backups for backups. I like that. You're giving such great energy. I don't know if I was mentioned this, but it is five. Well, it's five something in the morning,
Yep.
5:39 or something
It's
in the
early.
morning.
I don't have any makeup on because it is so early over here, but
It,
yeah,
it is early. So I again appreciate that. But in
my
in the
pleasure.
world of entrepreneurship, and we talk to beginning business owners, people who want to scale their business. So I do have a question about. Um, uh, in your experience, because you work with different sized businesses, what's the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make when they're trying to scale their business?
They pull a lot of money out of their business personally for reasons that are not legitimate. They get themselves into a financial bind because they've bought, might be they buy a new really expensive vehicle, for example, or they might buy a house, and they push
Mhm.
their business to the financial limits and they don't leave anything in the tank for any emergencies, right? It's like, I am running on fumes. That's okay. I'll get just enough to keep me going. And they're draining this thing dry before it's even had an opportunity to stabilize foundationally. So I see them sucking things out, going, "That's okay. It's a business expense." I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Taxation
Yeah.
office is not going to like that at all. And so I always say to them, look, if we're building for something, we've got to plan for it. So if you want a $500,000 vehicle,
Oh
no
gosh.
problems, no problems, right? We can provision for that. But
Hmm.
what I need you to do is put it in a way where that asset is held separately from your business, essentially untouchable.
Hmm.
How do I do that? How do I get you money legitimately to, get this thing that you want? It could be a house, it could be a car, jet ski, whatever. Everybody has their things that they want, right? Their
Right.
drivers, vision boards, what's life meant to look like.
Yeah.
Um, and it's how do I help you get there? How do I keep the profit in the business so that you don't drain the life force from this thing that's giving you the food on your plate?
Hmm.
And have you overcommitted, right? Because it's a beast that you always need to feed business. You need to always be having the leads generated and making sure that money's coming in, that money is being managed effectively, the business itself is being managed effectively, that your team are all on board with what the outcomes are aiming to be. And so that it's run like a well-oiled machine, because you can't push something to its limits that isn't being managed correctly.
Hmm.
You're going to kill it if you don't look after it and nurture it, essentially. So it'll give you everything you want and more, but you have to make sure that you're taking care of it in that way. And so, you know, people just kind of like milk it dry too
Yeah,
early.
milking it dry too early. Uh, well, when they're in it, they probably don't realize that they're doing it. It's probably new to them, and they're just like, "Oh, I got this. This good. I get this. I get that." And then before you know it,
But it's, Michael, it's a justification, right? It's,
oh
I
yeah,
work
yeah,
really hard, so I'm going to go buy this.
mhm,
Okay.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You know
And
what?
look,
Say again.
I said, I get it, right? I get it. Like I'm there for it, but let's look at it in a way where we can plan for it, not just do it and try to say, well, that's okay. Because if you're not thinking what could happen and the negative side of that, then, what's the risk? Like you risk, you pull 100 grand out of your business and you've only got $20,000 left in the thing, in the account, and tax bill comes up and you can't pay it. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to sell that car at a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. That's a tough lesson to learn. Man, that's a tough lesson to learn. And I don't think, like, unless, how do you stop somebody from, well, not necessarily stop, but how do you give the lesson to someone who hasn't been in that space before it actually happens?
So obviously we can talk to the challenges we've had that we've helped other people with, and we can show them and talk to them about what's actually happened in our own situations.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can't learn that way. Some people have to go through the hurt to understand it. And I can't stop that. I can give every platform, every provision, but if that person is hell bent on needing to go their own way, then I'll happily bid them the very best and say, look, if you don't want help, that's totally fine. But at the end of the day, a lot of those people may come back in 5 or 10 years' time and say, okay, look, I'm ready for help now. And that's great too, because I can't always, I can speak to things, but some people are kinetic learners. They got to be in it, right? They got to do it.
Right, right.
And I get it, because everybody learns in a different way. Two of my kids are high functioning autistics. One's an ADHD, so I got the neurodiversity thing going, and
Mm-hmm.
they all learn differently, and they
Right.
all need different things to feel comfortable. And so I understand that, and I will give every platform that I can for those business owners to feel comfortable. But until they are happy to go ahead, it's really their choice.
How do you assess your clients? Like what you could give them and figure out what's best for them.
So what we do initially is we talk a lot about what they actually want to achieve. And if I think that that person is just not negotiable, like not open to suggestion or learning, I'll probably just say, look, thank you for your time. Unfortunately, I won't be able to assist you. Okay, totally cool with that. I'm not for everybody, but I need somebody who's open to make changes. I have people who will come to me and we'll talk about what their life looks like, and they'll do up a vision board, or we have a process that I go through about what does life look like now, and what does life got to look like, what would you like it to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask them questions and I'll say, okay, so you've put a Maserati on there or a Lamborghini or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that really what you want, or is that what you think society wants you to want?
Good question.
And we'll ask the question, because I want to know, if I'm working to get you that Ferrari, is it really you, or is it something you're going to get and it's an empty success because it's not really you? It's what
Mm-hmm.
you think in your mind rich looks like, right? But what's wealth? Wealth to me is intergenerational wealth for my family and maybe their kids,
Mm-hmm.
and having multiple streams of income passively outside of my business that my business has helped to create.
Mm-hmm.
Owning everything outright and being able to swipe the card wherever I want and never think about money, and have
Mm-hmm.
holidays and adventures and experiences all year round with my family, right? That's mine. And now, in that nowhere have I said I need to have something really extravagant, because in my mind, my wealth is not that. And so I really encourage people to ask the question of themselves, is this really what I want? Or is this what society has told me that I want? And so I'll get you what you need. If you want a portfolio of 20 houses, okay, why? Why do you want 20 houses? Oh, because I want money in. Okay. Have you ever had investment properties before? Do you know what's involved? Like, because that's a whole different ball game, right?
Another beast.
Yeah. So it's really about working with people who are open to the learnings and being able to ask those deep questions. And so we do that assessment in the beginning before we take a client on to say, yes, we can help you, or no, we can't.
So, got many things from that, but what I wrote down was be coachable and understand what wealth looks like to you, not necessarily what wealth looks like to you because of what it may look like to other people or in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs? Like you alluded to this earlier in the conversation about wearing all hats for entrepreneurs. What advice do you have for those entrepreneurs that are trying to wear all hats in the business? And I'll just say I started off that way, but I was like, this is not sustainable. It just does not work.
No, because you're absolutely exhausted, right, at the end of the day. And every day runs into the next. It becomes Groundhog Day. There's no weekends. There's no downtime. And unless you generally live to run your business, you need something else. You need a break. And most of us can't take a holiday for more than a few days because of the way our brain works. We can't sit still, right? It's just the way we're wired. But it would be nice to have the freedom to choose, right, Michael?
Yes.
And so what we want, the freedom to choose, that is what life is about. So what we want is when we can incorporate people into the business as these specialists, and we don't always get it right the first time. So that's a whole nother lesson. But if we have provisioned funds to make sure that we have money to go and bring on that specialist, time to train, figure out if they're the right person that we need within the business. And once we've locked in and solidified that role, then we move into doing that for the next role. And I tell people when to basically trigger to hire. So we'll say, okay, well, when you have this amount of money and you're doing this amount per week in this role, we really need to look at putting that into a full-time position or a part-time position. You might do it via a virtual assistant. You might do that with someone that sits full-time within your business. It could be a subcontractor. There's many ways that we can do that. It doesn't have to be the traditional way of putting someone in as a full-time person if you can't sustain that yet. And that's fine. That's okay. But it's about letting them know what's available and out there that they can, source those skill sets from, and then saying, okay, well, what fits best for your business? Let's look at that. Let's explore that. And then let's recruit for that position. Let's really, really take the time on the hiring process because, that's where all the money and time spent is in the beginning part of training. And then when you are happy with that person, let's move on to the next one until you basically have a team behind you that have the same shared vision for your business. And will help you with the planning so that you can have time back and have freedom to choose.
And this all just really supports business growth and also for the entrepreneur owner to really still be able to take time for themselves and their family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want your kids to say, my parents always worked? That, you know what I mean? Like when you look back and they're 21 and you go on their 21st birthday, what do you remember about your life? And they say that you always worked and were never there. How would that feel?
That's not a great legacy you want to leave as far as memory is concerned. You know what I mean?
But I mean, if you brought them in and you said, this is what I do, in my business, and we're growing this so that we can have everything. But I now am going to take time out from that and be with you. I want you to understand that when I'm with you 100%. But the reason I work so much is because I'm doing this so that we can have, everything that we need, and I can be with you as much time as we can, know?
Yeah. So you worked with operations. And can you walk us through the first steps an entrepreneur should I don't know if I should take. Well, yeah, they should take one. They're setting up their operational part of the business.
So operations is really fun because depending on the type of the business, it can be just a few things that we need to put in place, or it could be multiple, it could be multi-layered. So
Mm-hmm.
in example of, say, the electrical business, there is different types of electrical. So there could be domestic electrical with residential houses, it could be brand new builds, it could be multi-story high-rise apartment blocks, it could be industrial. And so what we have to do within a business is say, okay, operationally, let's just start with where majority of your work is coming from right now.
Mm-hmm.
Say it's a brand new home builds. Okay, well, there's 5 stages to electrical in, say, North Queensland, because we have, cyclones, hurricanes up there. And
Mm-hmm.
so we need to document operationally what is expected of your team at every stage in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to build that in so that the team have exactly what they need, because everybody is just looking for instruction, right? And if they aren't given it, they'll just do it in the way that they know.
Yeah.
So operationally, it'll be like the team know that they need to attend the workshop in the morning. They need to collect the materials that they need. They need to advise the office team that they're completing that task for the day. They have a phone with their run sheet of the day. They basically click on here, they do that, and it's all documented, everything that they need to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so when things arise for the business owner to address, they'll say to their team member, did you follow the procedure? What happened? So they can understand if it's a procedural problem operationally, or
Mm-hmm.
is it the team member not doing something for a particular reason? And so then that becomes a training
Right.
and gives them an opportunity to be a good leader and develop leadership skills and training that team member to do things in a way and the reasons as to why that's done that way. And it's good because there's communication there,
Yeah.
and they get to work through that and say, okay, well, that was something that happened and we could have avoided that by doing X, so let's put something in place to make sure that we don't go down that road again.
Is there a bit of foresight that needs to happen in that space?
Yeah. So we map that out on a really macro level of what that will look like. And
Mm-hmm.
so the business owner knows what we're trying to achieve, what the outcome will be. And the team, are really good generally at helping you document that, because let's just say the entrepreneur only has, 40 hours a week he wants to be in his business.
Okay. I like that.
And so that team member go, okay, well, you're about to go and do an electrical lead in, for example. I would like you to video and take photos of you actually doing that and talk through what you do when you do that. And we're going to use that and we're going to say, okay, where can we make improvements and how? And we're going to develop a step-by-step on that procedure based on what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will absolutely freak out. They will freak
Yeah.
out because of the level. They're like, oh my God, there's too much responsibility. But sometimes people, depending on the personality, they need something to be, out of the normal. They need these little tasks to be like little wins and go, okay, cool. If you help me document this, I'm going to give you an extra 5% in your pay, or I'm going to give you a weekend away with your family, or I'm going to give you this, right? Like whatever floats their boat. But don't do all the work yourself. Get your team on the ground to help you. You've got a whole computer in your hand at any given time. Like,
Yes.
make a video. Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Man, it's so like all the knowledge that you have comes from decades of experience. Um, and with new entrepreneurs and um, people who are entrepreneurs but still kind of live in the chaos, within all of that, um, there's still purpose, right? And they're looking for a purpose and creating a purpose for themselves. Or their business may be a purpose-driven business. Do you feel that you are living your purpose now?
Absolutely. Like I don't have to do what I'm doing. This actually came because when we were in our business groups, people kept asking me for advice. And my husband was saying, this is a business. You should be charging for this. I'm like, no, I just love helping people. I just want to see people be successful and not make all of the mistakes if we can help them avoid it, right? But
Mhm.
it was just became so often. And so my purpose came really without me even knowing, because I just generally loved helping people. And what I would say to somebody who's in that period where they're not really sure, or they're still exploring that, and say, sometimes it just comes and you don't even expect it. You can look back and go, wow, I really love doing this. Like
Mm-hmm.
it fulfills me. And when I fill up my cup, I can give to so many others. And that's kind of what happened for me. Our business became really successful, and it took a really long time to get there. But when it did, it freed up my time, and my kids are at school all day. So I'm still looking for things to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so for me, I fill my cup by helping other people. And so it's almost selfish in that way, because I'm doing that because it helps me. But in saying that, I wouldn't be getting discouraged if you haven't found it yet. Sometimes it'll just happen upon you unexpectedly. And sometimes it'll be a very defined moment when you're doing something and you'll go, my goodness, I feel that in my core. I know that is something that I'm driven to do, and my purpose is to do this, and this is why. And if you are purpose led, if your intentions are good, if you are coachable, as you said, open to learning, and you want to work along, great other entrepreneurs, get into a group, meet people, exchange ideas, and say, this is my purpose, and get it out there so people know who you are and what you do and why.
And
And
why?
that reciprocation will come.
It will come. ClearPlan Consulting. What is your what is your mission, and how do people get in contact with you?
So my mission obviously is to help as many business owners as possible in the time that I've got on this earth. I've got a lot of years left and a lot of knowledge to give people, so I want to do that. Now, people can reach out to me via my website. I have a YouTube channel. I'm across the platforms, so you can find me there with the tagline ClearPlan Consulting Proprietary Limited. And so if you reach out and we can have a conversation, I've done a lot of conversations with people, even internationally, and we can just shoot ideas. I talk about programs that people use. I know that SimPro, for example, is a workflow program that's just come into the US and Canada. It was purchased from an Australian company, and people contact me just about how to use it, right? So look, I'm open to having conversations and helping people where I can. And one of the things that I really, really want to do is learn how I can help kids get the start in their entrepreneurial journey as well. And
Nice.
so what I'm actually building now is a platform to teach kids about finance fundamentals and all of the basics that are in business, so I can grow that, so we have a new generation coming through behind us that have already got the learnings at their fingertips.
That's excellent. I love that. So, as your last question is for what's on your heart and your mind. You probably have said this already, but in your spirit, in your
Yes.
soul, what would you like to share with people as your last words on the podcast today?
What I would probably say to everybody is, be sure in yourself of your skill set and your ability to learn. If you are open to learning, if you have two ears, if you can exchange ideas and be objective, you can achieve absolutely anything in your life. Don't think that you can't have everything that you want. Just be open to changing the way that you might get it, because like I said, if you want to make God laugh, have a plan. Everything will come to you in a way that it needs to,
Mm,
and at the time that it needs to come to you, and reach out for help.
great words, Sonya. Again, first of all, thank you. Like I feel like I'm in the studio over in Australia talking to you right now. It's really great to have you here at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning there, and pouring all your energy and your knowledge into this podcast. So, with a deep thanks from my heart, I appreciate you for being here.
That's
And
my
yes, thank you. And for you listeners and you watchers, the question of the week is: what's the biggest lesson you've learned that you believe every entrepreneur, including yourself, should know, no matter where they are in their journey? And make sure that you connect with Sonya. We'll have the information in the description. And as we always say, let's make thriving our new normal. See you next week. Before you go, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of the ThriveWell journey. Every time you show up here, you're choosing growth, clarity, and the deeper work of becoming who you're meant to be in this world. And if you're ready to reconnect with what truly lights you up, I created something powerful that can help you. It's called the Empowered Path, 7 days to reclaim your purpose and passion. It's a beautifully designed, guided workbook that walks you through a week of powerful prompts, clarity building tools, and real mindset shifts. Now, you can get instant access to it today. It's a small investment for a huge return. Your energy, your clarity, your alignment. And if you want to take it deeper, check this out. I'm offering a limited number of free 30-minute purpose coaching sessions. No pressure, no pitch, just space for you to reconnect with your direction, your gifts, and what's next. So you can grab the guide and book your session at the link in the show notes. Let's not just go through the motions, let's really walk this path on purpose. I appreciate you. And like we always say, let's make thriving our new normal. And I'll talk to you soon.